Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Israel. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you today to our Shabbat Day class here at the Awakening Remnant Coalition, Dallas. We are more than happy to have you here with us, to join in with us in our Shabbat Day class. Um, I am Yirmiyahu Ben Yahuda, your teacher, and the more here at the RDFW. Um, this has been a very busy week for us here at the Ark. But I want to talk to y'all this week about compassion. Something that I have been noticing, something that I have been noticing that is an attribute that has been lacking a lot in the kingdom. Um, and the Father has been driving this and has been putting this on me, and I'm very sensitive to things. So I just want to touch base about this. Um, we forget as Israel that we are a very compassionate people because we take on attributes of the Father. We are a forgiving people because we take on attributes of the Father. Yes, we can be judgmental because we have the ability to judge. We can be we can be hard. Hold on for a second, y'all. Give me a half of a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for that. We have this we take on the attributes of the Father, and the Father can be very, it has very different attributes. He can be very Boaz. Ooh, this dog is driving me nuts right now. Um, the Father can be very harsh in the way of treatment towards people that he has judged, and but he can also be very compassionate to those who ask for forgiveness or to those who he feels has been done wrong. And we tend to forget this in our with our people. And with the loss, um, our fellowship has lost a great supporter, um, a great follower of Yah this week in Brother Faisal, and we are saddened, and we are all, everybody who had an opportunity to know him, um, saddened, and we are all, everybody who had an opportunity to know him, saddened, and we are all, everybody who had, we're just hurting. I mean, and one thing I could say about Brother Faisal, he was a very compassionate man, and I just and a loving man, and I think he was a man that never met a stranger, and he was one who always tried to the community. Shalom, Aki, shalom, and
Shalom, shalom.
he was one who always tried, thought about the community and thought about Israel as a nation first, and he put others before himself. And brother Steve was an elder or an older man that I looked up to because even though he was sick, sick, he never let his sickness sit back at him. And so I want to just tell everybody, even though you may not know him, that kingdom, this earthly side of the kingdom has lost a great, great, great saint. But on the other side, they have gained another soul. Um, we know that he's resting and waiting on the return and the resurrection, which we are privy to. And he's waiting on this resurrection. But I am going to miss this old man. I'm going to miss him. And I was thinking about him on yesterday and just thinking about how, you remember that first Sukkot that we spent together, Rod? We was in the back we were in the back in Chauncey's, in the back of Malak's yard. And we was laughing about that paprika chicken.
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
I was sitting there, man, and I was just laughing, man. I got tickled in how mad I had made Brother Steve, because I'm sitting up there thinking, I'm like, all he gonna see the chicken with is paprika and mustard. And I laughed, and I just thought about how he challenged me that day, and he said, "Well, I'm just gonna make some then." And I'm like, "Well, get on up and make some then. I know nobody care." And then when I got a bite of the chicken and the chicken was good, it was moist, and he was saying like, "I told you so." You know, I just think about that. Just think about him, and I'm glad that I got an opportunity to meet him, and to for him to call me Moray and to be a friend. I was fortunate enough to go to his house a few weeks ago, and they invited us to dinner and sitting there Chinese food, and him and April, I mean, Sister Ann and April were on the computer in the room, and me and him were talking, and before you know it, we were getting woke up. Both of us had fell asleep, didn't even know it, just snoring. And, I'm gonna miss that guy, man. I really am. He called me once or twice a week, just like clockwork, just to check on me, and just to encourage me and to keep me going. So, you never know how much you gonna miss somebody, really, until they're gone. So, I want to talk this week about this attribute that I saw in Brother Steve, but I want to talk to it in the way that I saw it in one of our patriarchs, and that was the second king of the kingdom, which was David. And we know that when David finally was anointed as king, and after Saul and David were killed, I mean, Saul and Jonathan were killed, David could have done the unthinkable and went through and slaughtered all of Saul's bloodline. But because David was a man of integrity and a man of honor, and because of his love for Jonathan,
Mhm.
we hear that that David asked about Jonathan's lineage and heard that Jonathan had a son, and we look in I think it's Second Samuel, and I think it's the fourth chapter where we're going to start.
Did you want to start reading?
Well, I want you to introduce yourself first, and then we'll start reading.
Good morning, family. This is afternoon. Afternoon, family. It's brother yourself coming to you from the Art DFW. Again, thanking the Most High Yah for another Sabbath day of rest, another day to refresh, to reflect and rejoice in the greatness of His salvation and His mercy that are new every morning. And His grace, mercy, and grace that follows us every day of our lives. We're certainly happy and thrilled to be back online with you today. And we're looking forward to fellowshipping in the Word. We're looking forward to hearing what the Most High has to say to us today. And we just thank Yah Todah Rabbah for all of you that work along with us and follow us on these respective platforms. We pray Yah's blessings upon you and your families and everything that you set your hands to do. We pray Yah's peace and blessing be over your lives, over your families. We just give Yah all praise and all the glory. And we certainly want to be in prayer as Amori Yemi has already stated and indicated. We call her affectionately Mother Ann Faisal and the family, and the loss of our elder brother, Stephen Faisal. Very kind and compassionate soul, sweet spirit, a brother who sacrificed, and he loved his people. He loved the Ark DFW. He loved his leaders and his elders, and he loved the people. And we're certainly going to miss him. Sadness and grief in that respect, but along with that is rejoicing also, because he's not in pain anymore. He's not suffering, and we're glad for that. He's at rest, and we're happy for that. So please be in prayer for the Faisal family. Be in prayer for us. So it was a great loss, and our feelings are hurt behind this, but Yah is good. Yah gives and Yah takes away. Blessed be the name of our Yah. And so,
Yes. What's up, brother Malak?
Hey, shalom, Shabbat shalom, brothers. How you doing, brother Yemi? How you doing?
I want to know why you look like Shaq over there in this picture, because me and Malak look like, me and Yusuf look like we 2 foot tall compared to you over there.
I don't know, man. It must be something with the camera today, man. I don't know.
You been eating your weed or something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, how you doing, brother Yosef? You doing all right today too?
I'm doing fine, brother. Doing fine.
Yeah. That's good. Good. Shalom, family. Shalom, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a wonderful Shabbat. I spoke to Mother Ann earlier. I just wanted to, connect with her. I know I just heard you tell the family and also the friends about our loss, Brother Steve. this week. She's in good spirit though. She's in good spirit.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that would really help encourage me. And she shared a few things with me, man. That we really don't know the impact or the influence we have on people. And I know Brother Steve was private about what he was going through and stuff like that. But I do appreciate Mother Ann sharing with me, the fact that he really appreciated things that we have done for them. So that's always encouragement, man. Because again, I think sometimes we really take the responsibility or the job lightly. That who we are. And again, I was sharing this with my wife. It's not about being given a title. It's about the function of a title. You know what I'm saying? It's about the function. And too many times, all people we look at titles, but we don't look at the function. And I want to thank you, brothers, and also thank the family for the support. You know what I'm saying? Again, I know a lot of times it seems like because I'm on the road, I'm real busy, but I ensured everybody, if you have my number or what have you, contact me. I'll put on the side of the road, brother Yosef noticed. I'll put on the side of the road. I'll talk to you for a minute, or I'll just get back to you when I get back in town. But for me, I'm saddened because again, there's things that and I was telling a friend of mine this earlier, one of my trucking buddies. You know, when people call me to ask me to look at their cars or look at something at their house or whatever, I'd rather work on other people's stuff than my own stuff. that's sad, man. But I mean, that's the life of whether you're a mechanic or your truck driver, what have you. And I've been fortunate enough, man, to be influenced by a lot of people in my life, man, that I can pass some of that experience, some of that wisdom on, whether it's dealing with their roofing, dealing with their plumbing, dealing with mechanics, what have you. So I understand that my purpose, I begin to understand my purpose. So Brother Steve actually helped shine that light on what was my purpose in that perspective. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be dearly missed. He was dearly loved. And again, I mean, it just really helped me out as a person to really understand how important this family, this fellowship, how this ministry, so on and so how important it is. So I want to thank the family for allowing me to be part of their life. That's what I want to do. So thanks to Mother Ann and thanks to Brother Steve, and my condolences to the family and friends of
Well, I talked to Yosh about it on the night that he passed, and got some words of encouragement and some things that I was gonna have to take care of. Just a little bit of some knowledge on how to handle stuff, But I do want to tell you all this going forward in this. I think sometimes we forget just how finite life is, and we do have older members. We do, and with the sickness, with COVID, um, I do think we do need to still try. We need to try to get together at least quarter,
yeah.
at least.
Let,
Um,
let, let me share something right fast, Shimmy. I don't interrupt. Dealing with this aspect, dealing with the COVID and all that, and I'm not a physician, not a doctor, I'm not a scientist or biologist. But one thing we know about the Most High, He
mhm.
cares everything. You know, by the lifestyle that we the adversary is very, very manipulative on all aspects. Let's be honest. And I don't want to put any tactics or any conspiracies out there. So this is not about what I'm saying is what once Mother Ann shared the fact that he didn't have, because let's be real, these people will share, they would undermine things and say, well, COVID was the cause of death. They would take every opportunity to do that thing. But in this time that we are in, family, what that does is that takes away power of the Most High.
Yes.
We again, we don't realize that the word of the Most High is true, and let every man be alive. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And we have to get back to our proper diet. It's hard for me. I'm on the road, man, and I struggle with that. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle. I just had a doctor's appointment. Matter of fact, the day after, the day before, Brother Steve passing, I had a doctor's appointment to go get my blood work checked and my cholesterol and my sugar, and it's hard. It's hard on us, period. Because again, we don't grow our own food. We usually go to the practitioner and let his word be true and let the Most High be like. And what I'm saying is we have to get back to eating properly, exercising, and even thinking properly. Because so as a man thinketh, so a man is.
Yes.
And he put a lot of the information out there that happened. Well, what it does is it put people in this paranoid mind state. And it makes people nervous. It makes people scared. It makes them fearful. And once you start doing that, what happens is your nervous system, which is connected to your immune system, begin to break down. So we have to really be careful of that and make sure that we are putting out information that's going to put the Most High first and everything else prime. Second. And I just want to share that right there, brother Yemi, because again, you're right. We really need to start seeing each other. That's what I was getting at. We can't allow the adversary to stop us from seeing each other. That's my main purpose for saying what I'm saying. To go on with what you're saying. Yeah.
So we'll get together and we'll talk about it. But I think that's something we need to do on a more frequent basis, because the last time we met, the spirit moved, and we saw the fruit of the labors, and you know what? I forgot the fellowship was as big as it is. I didn't realize we had as many people that we got. So that was a beautiful thing. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to turn to the book of 2 Samuel. We're going to start at the 4th chapter. We're going to start at verse 1. We'll probably be on this lesson for a little bit. But I want to talk about is that David being now in a position. Okay, let's give some backstory. Saul was anointed king. We go back to the backstory. Israel felt like they needed a king. So the father decided to anoint a king. He anointed first Saul. Saul was a Benjamite. He anointed Saul king. Saul was disobedient. What did Saul do? Well, Saul prophesied. Saul didn't have no business doing that. Or what did he say? He prophesied, or he offered up something he ain't had no business doing. He lost favor of the Most High. The spirit of the... And then the prophet was sent to anoint one of Jesse's sons. Jesse had 7 sons. All Jesse's sons was lined up before the prophet, all but one. and all the sons were lined up before the prophet, and the prophet didn't see any of them that he liked. So then the one son who was out in the field tending to the sheep was chosen. The pretty boy, the comfy one, the one they didn't feel like should have been much of anything, the run of the litter, you know, was chosen to be king. David, the same David that fought Goliath, the same David that fought bears and lions, the same David. David was an honorable man. David loved Saul. I want y'all to understand this. A lot of people don't realize this. Even though David knew he was anointed to be king, David did not allow this to rule over what he was supposed to do, because David was an honorable man. David kept doing that what he was supposed to do. And David played his heart for Saul. David honored Saul because Saul was still in the position of king. He was not rebellious towards Saul in any way, shape, or form. Man, I'm going to tell you, David was better than me. Because the day that Saul threw that javelin at my head, we would have had to rethink some things. Saul was trying to straight up kill David. In this turmoil, Saul's son, Jonathan, and David gained a relationship. And not only a relationship, but a bond that was closer than brothers. Now, I've heard that you know, these worldly folks want to make it to seem to be more than what it was. You know, they've even twisted it to be somewhat homosexual in nature. They twist this word. They had a genuine love for one another, much like the three of us have a genuine love for each other. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell y'all, even though I'm asked permission first, Joseph, do you mind if I share a little bit of what happened during Pesach with the people? Your situation? Sure. Okay. So if you know the story, our story, Joseph went into the truth, and his wife was not in the truth. And for years, she was still in the church, and Joseph was still teaching. And for years, there was still this kind of turmoil that Joseph went through. Well, Joseph's son, one of Joseph's sons, went into the truth. And when we had Pesach, I've known Joseph for what, 6 years now?
I think,
and I have never seen Joseph's wife, which is crazy because well, I didn't see Joseph for the first 2 years that I knew him anyway. And but I finally meet Joseph's wife. And on that day, Joseph's wife makes a statement that was so profound during Pesach that moved me and Chauncey so much that both of us were in tears. Well, all three of us was in tears. But it was so much that we stopped what we was doing. We all ended up hugging one another. And you saw three big grown men crying like babies because she had accepted herself into the truth. And we knew how much of a relief this was on Joseph.
Right.
And so this was the kind of love that Jonathan and David had.
That's right.
That we loved each other so much that we rejoiced over this one little victory that Joseph had in his life.
Right.
And even Saul, even though Saul was Jonathan's father, and they both knew that Saul had to kill David, these two still had this bond and this admiration for one another. So much that Jonathan would even warn David, look, man, Dad trying to take you out, bruh. You need to hide and do this and do that, you know, because Jonathan saw that David did not mean his father any harm. But Saul was so enraged and so jealous because the anointing had left him and was on David. It's hard when you kill up armies of men and the people who are to serve you say, well, Saul killed thousands. David kills tens of thousands in your face.
That's right. That's right.
And Saul was so enraged not to realize that he still could have gotten the glory out of David's kills. Because David still, even though David could have whooped Saul, he still was loyal to Saul. Look, David was so cold that Saul was chasing him through the caves, and David had hid himself through the silk of the spiders. And when Saul walked past him, David had cut the tzitzit off his robe. And showed it to him. And told him this could have been you.
Yeah.
This was how loyal David was to Saul. And how much David honored the father. Because he knew that even though he was anointed to be king, it would have been dishonorable to kill the sitting king.
That's right.
But he also knew that time was going to come where the father was going to remove his adversary. Now, I want y'all to understand this. When Saul died, or when Saul fell out of his chair, when the chair fell, and Saul was no more, David could have been vindictive and killed all of Saul's seed and regained all of Saul's lands unto himself, because this is what the king does when he takes over the throne. But that is not what David had in his heart. This is why Yah said that David had a heart after his very own.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And these are some of the things that I want Israelites to understand, that even though we are being mistreated and we want to go to war against those who are mistreating our people, we need to sit still and allow the Father to work in our stead. Because we're not going to be in our position for long. Remember, the scripture says, and Chauncey, I want you to find it, because I know you know what scripture I'm about to say, but it talks about Esau's reign and then Jacob's reign. That Esau was going to reign first, and then, or Esau was going to have reign, then Jacob's reign. We are getting ready to take our reign back. The Father knows that there is going to be how can I say this? A changing of the guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I want y'all to understand that our enemies know this as well. And this, and subconsciously, not consciously, subconsciously, the adversary has placed it in the subconscious of our enemy. Listen, for all of you that have, listen, y'all, to all of y'all that have gone out here and y'all have voted, I want y'all to understand something that is very, very, very important. They don't care about you. Why don't they care about you? I'm going to show you. Our government had an opportunity to pass a bill that would stop police and other people from killing unarmed blacks. But they passed a bill to stop harming Asians. There's a bill that's sitting there in Congress, upside down, in Congress right now that would do something against them harming us. But they're sitting on it.
Let me say something.
Go ahead.
This is one of the main issues with that. This book right here. This book right here. This book supersedes any documentation that any nation has. Bar none.
Facts.
Bar none.
Facts.
The problem with our people is, it goes back to what you said earlier, dealing with being patient and understanding the position that we are in. Number one, our captivity is not all about punishment. I'm repeat that again. Our captivity is not all about punishment. The problem what our people don't understand is this captivity is the Most High putting us in positions when the powers that be begin to fall, you're going to go right into where you belong. And that's into rulership and that's into leading. But you can't even get yourself together, let alone rule. You can't rule your house. You can't even do a job. You can't raise your own kids. You can't grow your own food. So how in the heck you ready to rule the world? Let that marinate for 1 minute. Let that resonate for 1 minute. To add to this is this. When you asking your adversary to recognize you as a person, see, the Constitution does not give you rights. It protects the rights that are given to you by the Creator. That's why even in a preamble says that the power that's invested in dealing with life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is endowed by the Creator.
What does it also say? That all these truths are self-evident. All men created what?
Equal.
But that's not true.
Oh, but you're right. But this is the thing about it, you hear me? This is the thing about it. Part of it is true. We're all equal under the law. We're not all equal in character, though. We're not all equal in strength, but we're all equal under the law.
Under law.
So when the society creates a law to get, watch this here, to give you rights when you are already given rights by the Creator, can't no man give you rights. The rights are given to you by the Creator. So you're asking your adversary to give you something that was already given to you prior to him existing. So that's what. So that's where we're wrong at right there. It's not him. He's doing exactly what he was created to do. See, the thing about this book has not changed whether you want to believe in the New Testament, Old Testament, whatever. The problem with our people is understanding the book, putting everything in context. The book has to be read in context. See, we don't have to go out there and again, you know me, anybody that know me, I got probably an arsenal. But I don't have to go out there and shoot now one adversary. I have to. All we need to do is build up. We have to come together and build our own infrastructure. The problem with us is we perpetuate those stereotypes. Well, black people harder, can't work together and all that. And here it is. Most of your championship teams are full of black, whether they're football, basketball, baseball. You work together, but see what it is. You have the mindset. You have to have the so-called white man over you to be successful, and that's an issue that we have to resolve with ourselves. To add to this, Jimmy, because I don't want to digress from what you're saying. Not only not only do we have the rights that's endowed by the Creator, I don't have to ask no man to protect me. When you asking the police to protect you, he's another man. I'm gonna put it to you in layman terms. I'm not gonna make a video about it. I'm not saying kumbaya. I ain't going out there. I'm gonna handle my business. I'm going by what the book says. The problem with our people is you keep asking for something and you have to look at yourself. Stop asking for stuff. I don't have to have no man to respect me as a man. Extra, that's given. You're gonna give me my respect. I don't care what that you're a public servant. Again, going into public and private. We don't understand that you have to go back into public versus private. We are private. This is a federal corporation. Look up 28 U.S.C. 3002 subsection 15. Even in that documentation, everything is about documentation. I say it all that to say that the problem is the adversary is doing his job. We're not doing our job.
That's a fact.
It goes back to what you say, Yemi. The Most High waiting on us.
Facts.
The feast days are designed to break down his economy. When we come together as a people, we can break down his whole economy just by the feast days. That's number one. Stop, divide, and conquer. We the only people perpetuate, even our women. I don't need no man. You don't see no other nation say that.
Heck no.
The problem resolved is in us. It's not the adversary. It's us. Stop asking people to recognize you as a human being when you are the very fabric of civilization, of humanity.
You are the only true human on this planet.
So anyway, I'm sorry, Joseph. Yemi.
Oh yeah, you did that one. You had to do that one though. But when we look at this, we realize that Saul perpetuated the same thing that our captors are perpetuating right now, which is feels as if he has to take us out because we are to rule. Saul's time was only a short time. Saul only ruled for 42 years. And to be honest with you, of them 42 years, Saul only had the blessing for 2 years. For 42 years, 2 years of Saul's rule were blessed. The other 40 years, Saul was running on his own. So now David or Dawid is now anointed and about to be appointed as king of Israel or Yasharel. Now, David, but I want you to find the scripture that I'm talking about.
I got it. I got it. I got it. You want me to go to it now?
Yeah.
Second Esdras, chapter 6, and I'm going to start off at verse 8. He said to me, for Abraham to Isaac, because from him were born Jacob and Esau.
Mm-hmm.
For Jacob's hand held Esau's heel from the beginning. Now Esau is the end of an age, and Jacob is the beginning of that follows. For being a person in his hand, and the end of the person is his heel. Seek for nothing else, Esdras, between the heel and the hand, Esdras.
So basically, what Esdras is saying is that Esau to rule for a period of time, and
Right.
because Jacob was holding on to to Esau's heel, he will then take over rulership because he is now the continuation. Esau knows this. Satan knows this. And he is doing everything in his power to prevent you as Israel or Yasharela from going into rulership. This is why you are hated amongst all men. Because you are the only true man. You have no Neanderthal DNA. Man, I go through this all the time with Yosh and with Iran. We were talking about the beast of the field this week. And Yosh was like, man, I get tired of you saying this, man. I said, look, I don't care what you say. He's like, man, you need to stop saying that mess. I said, man, I'm not going to stop saying it. Because this is what I believe, man. I still believe that when the Father called them animals up on that ark 2 by 2, 2 of them beasts of the field came up on that boat. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. He just laughs and he laughs and he laughs. Man, he said to every beast of the field. Yes, indeed, Gabriel. We got next. And,
That's right.
And it is our responsibility to understand that when we take over rulership, we got to move like we. We're going to move in a rulership of compassion. It's going to be blood.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be some bloodshed, but we ain't going to stop.
But we are not going to rule in blood.
That's right.
And people, we have to stop being so hateful and so callous, and understand that when we look at the Beatitudes and we look at what Yeshua HaMashiach was saying in the Beatitudes, that he was trying to get us ready for rulership. Those characteristics don't make you weak. And so when we look at Dawi, I want to go into 2 Samuel chapter 4 first. So let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 4. Let's start at verse 1.
2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 1. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had two men that were captains of the band of bands. The name of the one was Baanah, and the name of the other was Rechab. The sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite, of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also was reckoned to Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came hither into the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat. And they smote him under the fifth rib, and Rechab and Baanah, his son, escaped. Baanah, his son, escaped. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him, and slew him, and beheaded him, and took his head, and gasped them away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life. And Yahweh had avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said unto them, As Yahweh liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of all adversity. When one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag. Who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings? How much more when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? Shall I not therefore require the blood, his blood of your hand, and take you away from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron.
Hold on for a second. Now I want to go over this. After Saul had died and Jonathan had died, some of the army went and started seeking out blood-related relatives of Saul and were putting them to death in the name of David. Mephibosheth's nurse knew this, took the child, and started running. The child fell and went lame. This child made it to a place called Lodibar. Lodibar was probably the slums of slums in Israel. It was like going to St. Bernard Projects, the Callio, the bottom in Shreveport, Allendale and the Cooper Road, Oak Cliff back in the day, Pleasant Grove, and a few other places all mixed together times pi. So Lodibar was a pretty bad place. And this is where they escaped to with Jonathan's son, who would have become heir, because all of Saul's kin were killed. But I want y'all to listen to what David said in all of this. When the men came and brought the news, because these were fellow Benjamites that finished killing off these folks is cold. These are fellow Benjamites that finished killing off Saul's kin. David said, "Why you come to me with this good tidings, or the so-called good tidings?" Man, David didn't want to hear that mess. David went ahead and killed them off. Got some of his men. He cut off their hands and feet, bruh. And then hung them up. Because he realized the disrespect that was he still had that much love for Saul and for Jonathan, even in their passing, that he felt like they had disrespected him. See, David didn't want his name tied to any foolishness concerning the throne. Go to chapter 9. Are we done with chapter 4?
Yes.
Hold up. We're about an hour in. So this is what we'll do. We'll wait till next week and we'll go into chapter 9. But what I want to do and what I want to tell everybody is this. Understanding this, your name and everything around your name is important. And all you have in life is your name. There's one thing my daddy said and told me, and it made sense. Now that I'm older, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever is tied to your name, when people say your name, you don't want to have all the bad stuff connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even David was in his 40s then. David, mid 40s, almost 50 at this point, did not want his name to be tarnished, because it did not only affect him, it affected his father. You see, David looked back at it, it didn't only affect him, it affected Jesse.
Oh yeah. You know what I think also too.
What's that?
There's a lot of people missing with, like say, they dealing with this background story. Is if David was the king, which we know he was anointed by Yahweh, and for these men to go and act without his orders is a blatant sign of respect, not only to the order, but also is going to tarnish his reputation. Because now you have people that are going to do what they want to do, and you ain't correcting them. So David is putting the evil from amongst us. You know what I'm saying? He's putting away the evil. And the thing is, it goes back to what we started off in the beginning of the discussion. We're so busy worried about the adversary, but we are not even willing to put from ourselves. Again, it goes back to what I was saying. If we can't lead our house, we can't lead the kingdom. If we can't feed our house, we don't grow our food. We don't. All this is tied to, again, and I think you was going to talk about this, touch on this earlier, Yemi. I'm like you. I don't tell people whether to vote or not to vote. But I'm gonna ask. But people need to ask themselves a serious question: how many Asians do you see running down to the polls? How many Arabs do you see running down to the polls? How many Mexicans you see running down to the polls? Very few. You know why? Because they have an economic base. You can go anywhere in the States and find a little Chinatown, a little Mexico, and little Arab. And the only thing you find outside of that dealing with us is the hood. We don't run nothing but our mouth.
Not a thing.
We don't run nothing but our mouth. And the problem is until we get tired of being sick and tired and start dealing with the problems amongst ourselves, I mean, again, it goes back to the point. This is about a nation. This is not about an assembly, a camp, or this is about a nation. You, and anybody else should be able to go sit down in fellowship with any organization without feeling like, well, man, if I go over there, they're going to charge me $150 because I want to come to their celebration. Or, well, since I ain't joining their so-called ministry, I can't fellowship with them. We're a nation. We're a family. We're a family. I mean, and until we operate as such, because again, you can go right there again. Me and brother Joseph mentioned this a few weeks ago. You go right there to Bel Air in Houston, and they got the street names in Chinese. The street names in Chinese. You feel me? They got their own banks. The problem with our people, we so mad at the adversary, but we're not willing to deal with the problems that we have internally. That's where, because again, at the end of the day, Judgment Day, we're in our judgment. Judgment Day is for the nation, but how can you judge the nation when you can't even judge your own self?
That's fact.
And that's what David was doing. David was like, how dare you? How dare you? And then I'm the king. I didn't give you orders. I don't want to be tied to that. So when the nation see that, the nation will realize, hold on. No. And again, it's not about letting police officers get away with murdering our people and stuff like that. I mean, we're not condoning that at all. I don't condone any law enforcement murdering our family members, but the problem is this. When we get to the point where when we start handling the people that are causing that kind of confusion in our own communities, then we can hold the other nations responsible. That way, when you say, because I guarantee you, if it happened to any other nation, they will sit down and say, I tell you what, you got 72 hours to hand over such and such to us. If not, we're going to handle our business. But when you depend, you got to go get your toilet paper, you got to go get your clothes, you got to go get everything from the adversary.
That's a fact.
All the other nations don't have that to do. They don't do that. If you see a so-called Asian person get beat by a police, matter of fact, there was a Indian guy right in Dallas a couple of years ago got beat by when the Indian council called the police department, they got their minds right. Because they assume that he was a so-called Negro. They got their mind right. That's what we as a people have to do. We have to understand that the power comes when we come together collectively and say we have enough. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired dealing with our own people. Then we can look at the other nations.
Facts.
You know, unwed mothers, children, not having any fathers in their lives, and you know what I mean, we could go on and on and on and on about that. But anyway, yeah, you're totally correct. You're totally correct.
That's a fact, man. Well, I'll tell y'all this. Next week we'll go further into this story, and I just want everybody to keep Sister Ann in y'all's prayers, and Brother Steve's family. Keep us all in your prayers. I want to thank all of those who have sent support. Sister Vale, thank you once again for being faithful to this ministry. I want to tell you and your husband we appreciate you. Also, just to everybody who is, you know, who comes each week and supports. Brother Gabriel, I will get in touch with you this week. Need to talk to you. And y'all give me a call this afternoon, probably around 6. I need to talk to both of y'all. So Call me around 6 o'clock. And everybody, it's been a wonderful Shabbat. I thank y'all for tuning in, and we will talk to you on next week. Once again, to the 12 tribes of Israel, scattered, dispersed, but not destroyed. To all my brothers and sisters, I'll close in prayer. Abba, Father, we thank you for your love, your grace, your kindness. We thank you for your word made flesh. We thank you for the Ruach HaKodesh. Yah, we thank you for teaching us your word. Thank you for the message that was given. We ask that you would let it touch someone and just continue to teach us and to show us your ways, that we may do those things that are pleasing in your sight. Abba, Yah, we thank you once again. In all these things we say hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
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 All right, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpiyah.
All right.
Shabbat shalom, family.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.